Dundee, Newcastle, Carlisle. The tour of a major British rock band rolls on. Tons of equipment moving between each location. Thousands of fans eagerly wait. Tonight, Genesis in Liverpool. The road crew who have travelled through the night start to unload 5 tons of equipment from 3 giant trucks. Sound and lighting rigs are taken into the theatre in preparation for the evening concert. The band, meanwhile, check into the hotel where they will be based during their stay in Liverpool. 29-year-old Phil Collins, drummer and lead vocalist, born in London and educated at Chiswick Grammar School and Stage School. Mike Rutherford, 29, guitars and backing vocals, born in Guildford, Surrey, and educated at Charterhouse Public School. Fellow Charterhouse pupil Tony Banks, also born in the South in 1950, is the keyboard player for Genesis, and with Mike and Phil, the only original members of the band. On the road, Daryl Sturmer on guitars and Chester Thompson on drums join the lineup. At the theatre, the unloading continues. The PA system is the largest piece of equipment to be set up. Worth £250,000, the 4 tons of speakers form 15-foot high stacks either side of the stage, pushing out 5,000 watts of power, which compared with the 30 watts of the home stereo is understandably rather loud. Back at the hotel, the band have a meeting with their manager Tony Smith over lunch. Until the setting up has been completed at the theatre, there is little the band can do in connection with their evening performance. With the sound equipment now in place, the group's instruments are set up. Their personal road crew of 5 are responsible for setting up about 30 drums, 40 cymbals, 8 guitars and 6 electronic keyboards. The lighting director, Alan Goldberg, and his crew of 5 set 367 lights, of which 80 are aircraft landing lights. 32 different colours, 40 different lighting scenes. The wide selection of promotional material, badges, posters and t-shirts are laid out in the foyer. For the band, press interviews and photo calls. And of course, everywhere they go, fans and more autographs.
I think Phil supports Arsenal. Okay, cheers.
Liverpool's Radio City features an afternoon radio interview. There you have it, that's the brand new single from Genesis from the album Duke, a track called Duchess. How are you viewing the prospect of the Liverpool audience for 2 nights?
There's towns you know are going to be good and kind of rely on. It's actually often quite dangerous because sometimes you sort of build up too much. Remember last year, not this year, Newcastle was good this year, but last year we played Newcastle and we were kind of thinking, yeah, it's normally a great audience, and it was slightly disappointing. This time it's very good.
There are supposed to be several hundred forged tickets in circulation. I mean,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on
according to
that?
the fans, the guys outside said 7,000 or 8,000. But I think you said 700 or 800.
I think 7,000 is a bit
It'll be a couple
toppy.
of million by the time we get down to the gig.
Does that
Oh,
cause
yeah.
a problem, presumably before the gig? Then I mean, if the tickets are having to be checked that thoroughly before the kids are coming in, then it must
makes
slow.
the process of people coming in very slow, which means we go on later, which means there's more risk of us being drunk. Sorry.
This is an afternoon radio show.
That's right.
Even though the concert is some time away, fans with and without tickets are gathering at the theatre early.
I come here so early as to meet the band. I usually come to concerts early because I find that
Get the autographs.
get the autographs.
Got quite
You can tell who the real fans are coming early, I think.
When it comes to support, distance is apparently no object for the ardent Genesis fan.
Stoke and Blackpool and Emerson.
You got a ticket?
I haven't got one today.
How much would you pay for a ticket?
About £15.
I thought you paid to Germany as well.
I have to Saarbrücken and Cologne.
Did you try and get a ticket for this concert?
Yeah.
And they were all gone?
All the people are Liverpool.
Come from Germany, from Cologne.
To go to this concert?
But I got no cards.
You came all the way from Germany
Yeah,
and you
900
thought
kilometers. I got
No ticket?
No ticket.
no ticket.
No ticket.
Has anyone got a ticket?
Yeah, I have.
Not to sell then?
What's the face value of your tickets?
£4.
£4. What could you get?
Well, we don't know. Well, I've been offered 50 by one of me mates.
Why didn't you take it?
I'd sooner go and see him personally.
You've waited so long for
Yeah,
it.
never seen him before. I've been waiting for three years to go and see him.
But with £50 you could buy 10 albums.
Well, sooner go and see him, I think.
People are selling tickets for over £50. Would you pay £50? All. I vote for they all.
Inside the theatre, the sound check. Levels are tested and numbers are run through in the new hall. What is it about this band that generates such support?
Well, I'm a member of the fan club. I've supported them since 1974 when I first got into music since then, and they just hit me. Their music hit me because I heard Nursery Crime. Sound original. The keyboards were something different. Certain amount of musicianship that they had. It's just a damn sight more than a lot of other people didn't.
You know, some people maybe go to Pink Floyd or, well, quite a lot of the fans think go to more heavy metal bands as well as, more, classical rock bands like Genesis.
Yeah, I think Genesis, we cover a wide range of musical taste.
The
which will
earlier material as well.
Which will appeal to far more people than, say, just heavy metal bands. Genesis appeals to basically everyone.
What about your mates?
I get a lot of slagging off because of Genesis. They're not a Vogue band to like.
Just before tonight's concert, 2 competition winners collect their prize, meeting the band.
Hello.
Hello.
That's the Tony Banks. Other Tony Banks.
Thanks.
The original narrated.
Phil over there in the chemist shop. Phil.
With a desperate bid, head and shoulders. Use this.
This is Howard, who won the competition for tickets.
Thanks, you.
And his brother.
All right.
And him, Chester Thompson.
Okay.
All right, and brother. The sales of posters, programmes and T-shirts reaches a peak, with concert time rapidly approaching.
We're ready.
Nope.
Don't wait.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, I can feel it.
I can feel it. Can you feel it? I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go. What was the first song again?
With a large number of forgeries in circulation, all tickets are scrupulously examined, making entrance to the theatre a long, slow process.
Yeah, it does. Really does.
Is that the house light?
I think one of the most important things is that we've always been kind of unaffected by trends and fashions in music, really. And we've always really made the music we want to make. And so consequently, we're not subject to those kind of changes that most bands go through. I mean, bands come, have hits, go. And so that kind of situation changes. The turnover is quite quick. But with bands, I mean, we were one of the last bands, for instance, to come out of the club, college, university circuit. After that, it was all down as that singles started becoming very, very important. Whereas with us, we actually built up the following throughout many, many years, basically, of just like, you know, steady incline. But I mean, we still like enjoy playing together. So that's one of the reasons why we're staying together, really.
we work on everything that we sort of collectively enjoy, I suppose, and then one or two things will fall by the wayside as you go along, you know. One always has a sneaking feeling that one or two things aren't going to make it, which you sort of, you work on them anyhow to see what happens. And sometimes those things do develop into good numbers.
It's a sort of subtle thing, you know, no one necessarily says that much about it. You just have a sort of feeling there's a lot of energy for this bit or that song, there's not so much energy for that song, so that other song sort of gets phased out. And as the album, the time you go in the studio draws near, you find you're sort of whittling it down to roughly album length.
Basically, the band is a band of composers, and if a song feels good 3 minutes long, then we'll leave it at 3 minutes, you know, because there are some things you just can't stretch out for the sake of it. You know, it just feels right at that length, and so therefore you'll leave it at that length. I mean, Follow You, Follow Me, which is, I mean, if you ask our ardent fans what they think of it, they'll say, oh, it's the group single. You know, it's obviously a commercial single, but I mean, to me, that's one of the hippest things we've ever done. You know, and I mean, the way it was written was because it was out of improvisation. It was a blow, basically. And it just sort of honed itself into this sort of verse, chorus, verse, chorus, chorus, verse, you know. And the attitude behind it was totally, you know, on the level. But I mean, to the punters, I suppose, they sort of see it as their band trying to get a hit single, you know, and we've never really needed that. I mean, in America you need that, but also in America you're more likely to have a hit single with something that's, you know, related to what you do anyway, so. It's very hard with new material, trying to introduce new material to an audience, because people basically come to a concert to have a confirmation, you know, and they feel safe with what they're hearing, and they like to hear the songs they know, because then they can sing along with them, you know. And if you give them too much new material, luckily our album's been doing very, very well, so all our fans that are coming to see the gigs know it. You have to sort of think of the set in the same way, dare I say, that you would titillate a woman, you know. I mean, you have to sort of, you know, you have to reach some kind of climax, hopefully.
After more than 10 years, 12 albums, the loss of Steve Hackett and Peter Gabriel, what is it that makes the fans loyal to Genesis? And do those fans have any criticisms to make?
For 18 months I've been sitting at home listening to their records, thinking I wonder what they're like. And it's them 200 feet away from me, which is quite something.
depends whether you like Genesis because of the music or because of the image of Genesis. If you just like the image and you like to look good as a Genesis fan, then you might not like other types of music because you think the image isn't good enough.
It's certainly not an image band. I said if they were probably one of the most least fashionable bands around at the moment.
You know, I got into them when I was 12. Some sixth formers introduced me to them. You said you'll like this, so I borrowed an album. I liked it. Carried on buying them. I mean, they were the first group I liked, and they're still my favourite.
They say they're not a singles band, but they still release singles. They still sell. Maybe it's the point of a Genesis fan will buy anything.
Yeah. Loyalty to the band.
Loyalty to the band, I suppose.
There's two different things, Genesis now and Genesis then. I mean, in the old days, you used to try to do the same on stage as you did on the album. Be all kind of mysterious and inaccessible. But now it's just more entertainment, you know, Phil Collins with his funny little stories and all this kind of thing.
Possibly Phil Collins realises that Genesis don't really communicate with their audience as a lot of other bands do on stage. So he sort of tries to get everybody involved in being like one of the boys, if you like. I'm just the same as you, and I'm up on this stage, and this is the way you'd behave if you were up here.
After the first 5 or 6 years, they were really original and innovative and all this kind of thing. And nowadays, they seem to be, well, they're losing inspiration.
They're
things like
beginning
this.
to have a recognised style.
They stagnate, yeah.
I used to like Genesis. I mean, I'm not being condescending. When I was about 14 and 15, you know, with the old Genesis, I saw them with Gabriel. I saw Gabriel by himself just after he left them. And I used to love them. But now I like all types of electronic music, Kraftwerk and Ultravox, things like that, and also Roxy and Bowie, obviously. Now, see, the thing that amuses me there is, like, I've stood there for an hour now and listened to everybody talking about how great Genesis are. And I've also, you know, I've liked Genesis, but I've got me critical points to say about, you know, what I would have said about them. But I wasn't going bored, snow, and all the rest of it, because that's what they're into. Whereas because I'm into my kind of music and it differs from theirs, it's a typical reaction.
The Genesis fan can't take criticism.
Well, it's not so much he can't take criticism, he's very limited in his outlook on music.
That's not true.
Perhaps you've got a sense of humour more than we can say for bands like Kraftwerk and people like that who make electronic music.
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, girl.
When I first joined the band, it was I was kind of viewed as class clown, you know, because I mean I was a kind of the scapegoat in a way, which is fine because I mean like drummer's role, which is what I was at the time. The drummer's role is very defined. It's like a goalkeeper, you know. I mean it's like he's there to really present the vibe, you know. You give the band the energy with the playing on the drums and the sort of humorous and the sort of personality vibe, then the band will sort of, you know, bounce off it.
Phil is definitely the performer. My role is definitely as a writer. You know, I'm not a very natural performer, but in a group nowadays, you've got to kind of contain all the different aspects within the group. In the old days, I suppose there used to be writers who never performed, and performers who never wrote.
Way easier now. 5 people, as we were when we started, developing as sort of personalities, expanding as writers and musicians, need more room, and we could barely contain 5, and now. Then we were 4 for a while, and they kind of developed, and you could barely contain that. And now there's 3 of us, and there's a lot more room for each person to breathe and move in, which I think is actually the secret. In a group where everyone writes, it is a problem. 3 is quite a good number.
better start doing it right. Yes, you better start doing it right. All right. Halfway up, halfway down. Back on your back, keep turning you round. Throw it away, be up there. Either don't look back. Whatever you do, yes, you better start doing it right. All right. You better start doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, each gig is basically very different. You know, I mean, you're still dealing with a different set of people, and the people, whatever they give back to you, you know, makes you sort of go 100%. I mean, I find it very hard to do anything less than better than I did the night before, anyway. Just because to me it's like an ongoing thing. You know, I mean, you're just trying to do it a little bit better every night. I mean, we haven't actually got to the situation now yet that we're on automatic pilot on stage.
On your right, buses is green, buses is blue, if they don't make it through. Out of the fire, to the fight, out of the dark, and into the night. That's the way the heroes go.
Live audiences are always pretty young, actually, especially at the front, compared to, say, like a record-buying audience. It's interesting, yes. I mean, you look at some of the faces in the front few rows and you think, you know, 10 years ago, they were on tricycles virtually. I mean, not that bad, but I mean, yeah, almost, you know, when we were starting off. Yet they know the old stuff, which I always find, I've obviously got into an album recently and then gone back sort of to our old material. It's very encouraging. And there are the elder element, but I reckon there are people who just sort of, I think it happens in rock music, there are people who just grow up and drift off it, they just lose interest.
Music's playing, the notes are right. Picture first, go into the light. The edge of the sea, the edge of the world. You're gonna cross, you better start doing it right.
We never really had a sort of a long-term plan as such. It's just, I mean, I think actually, in fact, what's really helped us has actually been people leaving the band. It's given us a breath of fresh air, because when bands keep going for that long, it's hard for things to sort of stay fresh, really, because you've got the same people. However much they change, they produce similar sort of music. And you just try and, I suppose, every year you just try and get a fresh element in the group. Like the way you do an album, or the way you write together, or your approach. That gets one of the hardest things after 10 years.
It's very strange. When you live in London or live around London and you get the music papers and things, you are led to believe that there is a certain type of music that is popular and everything else is not. And yet, if you actually ask the punters, they'll, you know, the people that come to see our gigs, will go and see Motorhead. You know, they'll go and buy a Clash album. They'll go and see Susie and the Banshees. You know, and they'll also come and see us. I mean, it's like the same as me. I like Weather Report. I like Stephen Bishop. You know, I like John Martin. I just like all different kinds of music and artists. And it's the same with fans.
I mean, each time we go and do an album, we try and actually say, well, let's not do it, you know, let's not do it like Genesis. We try and be as different as we can. It is hard.
I mean, as soon as we start sort of going down, I dare say we'll start thinking about whether we're doing the right thing. But at the moment, we're writing music that we like and other people like as well. So, you know, as long as more people keep getting to it, then that's fine.